Good day, folks. Great White Smoke Barbecue back here with you. Just going to show you a simple dinner. Going to be doing some chicken leg quarters on the smoker, on the Traeger. We're going to be using some wild game cooking rubs. Also, I'm going to make risotto. So I'm going to start chopping the onions for the risotto, and also I'm doing a homemade barbecue sauce. Follow along. All right, for my risotto, I want really finely diced onions. I'm just going to cut them up real quick. This is kind of the dice you're looking for, almost translucent. Take those off. Grab the other one. Do the same to this half. Throw this on our plate. All right, we're going to push these onions to the side. I've got 3 cloves of garlic out, but I want to save one for the barbecue sauce I'm going to make. So I'm just going to cut these in half and cut them in half again and just finely dice. I don't want any big chunks in there, but I don't want small chunks either because most of the time small chunks end up burning. Several ways you can cut them. You can also use a garlic press. I just prefer cutting them myself. And last clove. All right, now those are chopped up, I'm gonna show you how to start the risotto. Back with the chicken leg quarters, I got the Traeger set to about 250. Should be gonna go on soon, probably smoke for an hour and a half, depending on when it gets to the right temperature, which is usually 165. Just adding vegetable oil here, and then we're going to use some wild game cooking barbecue spice, and we're just going to coat this on. Make sure you get a nice even layer. I'm going to pack those in. All right, then we got to do the other side because that is important as well. Same process. A little oil and seasoning. Rub that in well. All right, I'm gonna let these sit here for a couple minutes and then I'm gonna throw them on the smoker. All right, guys, got the Traeger set to 250. I'm just gonna throw these bad boys on here. And we'll come back and check them in about an hour and a half to see what temperature they are. All right, guys, I'm gonna start on the barbecue sauce. I'm gonna throw the burner to about medium low heat. I got some tallow I made the other day from a brisket. I'm just gonna scoop some of that in there. We're just gonna let this start melting. And I'll show you what goes on after it melts. All right, as you can see, my sauce pot for my barbecue sauce has started to render down all that nice tallow from that beef brisket I made the other day. I'm going to throw in the garlic and onions right now and just let them sweat until they become even more translucent. And we'll get back to you once that happens. All right, after stirring around the onions and garlic for this barbecue sauce a little bit, I'm going to add a few things. Got some ketchup. Probably going to go 2-to-1 for everything that I'm adding. Lots of ketchup. Got some mustard. Just a little bit there. Got the Wild Game Cooking hint of heat because I like my barbecue spicy. Dump a bunch of that in there. And for the sugar content, I'm going to use my own maple syrup that we make at my parents' house. Just do a couple of big glugs of that. I'm going to let it sit and percolate a little bit. And then I'm going to come back and taste it and see if it needs more of anything. I'm going to start on the risotto again. I'm going to use some tallow that I had the other day that I made. And throw that right into a big pan. Probably use a little bit more than we did for the barbecue sauce. Oh, it just smells like brisket. It's delicious. All right, once that gets all melted, I'll come back with you. I also have a pot of chicken broth that I'm going to have on a medium heat as well. Okay, guys, got the tallow melted for my risotto. I'm going to dump in the onions first. We're going to let them get translucent because I don't want to burn the garlic. I know I said big chunks, they won't burn, but this is just the safest way for me to do it. All right, guys, as you can see, the onions are translucent. I'm going to dump in all the garlic now. Stir this around real quick. Let the flavors all meld in together. It smells delicious in here. I've got the barbecue sauce boiling away. The onions and garlic are doing their job. I'm just going to throw in some arborio rice. I usually just do it just enough to coat the bottom. Probably about half a bag there. I'm just going to stir it around and let it toast for a bit. All right, been letting them toast for a little bit. It smells a little bit nutty in the air. I'm just going to use some wine. A little Pinot Grigio. Hopefully you can hear that little sizzle. Just going to leave it there. I'm going to stir it and let that all absorb. Once all the wine absorbs, I'm going to start ladling in the hot chicken broth I have over here. Better to have hot chicken broth than cold because it'll stop the cooking if it's cold. All right, guys, all the wine absorbed. I'm just giving it a quick stir to break up anything in the pot. I'm going to ladle in some warm chicken broth. I'm going to do this repeatedly until all the chicken broth is gone and the rice is tender. Just a couple of ladles at a time because you don't want to rush it. You just want to let it sit and absorb so it soaks in all that flavor. I'm not going to show you the whole process because it's kind of lengthy. But once we get to the end, we'll show you how that goes. All right, guys, I'm going to have to try and do this quick. I hear a thunderstorm coming. Got my sauce all to the right consistency I want. I'm gonna dump some on here. Just spread it around. It is starting to rain now. All right, now that it's all spread around there, I'm gonna close it back up. I might even turn it down a little bit to probably 180. It seems to be smoking pretty quick. We'll get back to you. Okay, guys, this took about probably an hour to do. Just keep on ladling in the broth and stirring it, letting the arborio rice absorb the broth. It's nice and creamy now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some butter. Yes, it does look like a lot, but as everyone says, butter makes it better. I'm going to let that butter melt in there. I'm going to stir it around a bunch. I'm going to be adding some salt and pepper for flavoring. Should be enough pepper. Not too much salt because you're going to add some Parmesan cheese, which is salty enough. I'm going to stir that and incorporate it all. All right, and now I've got my flakes of Parmesan. Everyone likes it cheesy. So we're going to stir that in. Let everything marry together. I know my chicken legs are almost done. I just added 2 more coats of barbecue sauce on them. All right, once we get to this consistency, I'm going to taste it. Make sure I've got all the spices right. I think that'll do the job. I had to change my shirt because I got some barbecue sauce on my other one. Rip. All right, I've sauced these a couple of times. They're at about 150. Usually when you smoke chicken, the skin doesn't really get crispy like you would on a barbecue or an oven. So I'm going to crank this up to 350 and we'll bring it up to temp and hopefully everything caramelizes. And all right, guys, we got the chickens at 165. I'm going to pull them off. In a little pain. I'm going to set the smoker on shutdown mode. I'm going to go inside and I'll show you how we plate. The chicken is done. The risotto is done. I'll just show you how to plate it. Big scoop of risotto there. Even bigger one for me. Throw this back on the stove. I'm going to come around and cut. Looks beautiful. Throw that on the plate. I'll cut mine. And then I'm just going to top it with a little bit more sauce. And then bon appetit. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave a comment down below. Please like and subscribe.